Hey everyone, welcome back to Bucky's Customs. Hey, in this video, I'm going to start out by going right to Carveco Maker, and I'm going to create a project that I've been wanting to do for a while. I've got a bunch of, believe it or not, cherry cutoffs that are left over. They're kind of scraps, small pieces, and I want to make some of these small pieces of cherry go away in a constructive way other than just throwing them in a wood fire. So I'm going to create something in Carveco, and I'm going to take you through that step by step, send it to the Longmill, and then we're going to finish the product and I'll show you what we come up with. So stay tuned. Okay, let's get started with Carveco. So I'm going to open this file. I'm going to show you what I've done. I've already created the toolpaths. What we're going to do now is I'm going to delete these toolpaths. We're going to go through and recreate this whole deal. So this is fairly simple to do. So I'm going to leave this alone. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go to the rectangle. We're going to pick this. We're going to go size it, and I think I'm just going to do a 5x8. We're going to come over here and we're going to make these corners come in. This is basically what I've created. So now we're going to create that. What we need to do now is I need to go over here to the offset. We need to offset inward. I want to do a 1/2 inch and offset. So now you see what we have here. We have the outside, the inside. Now we need to offset one more time, because although this could be our toolpath clearance, it's not going to be the clearance at all. It's going to be the radius on the bottom of the clearance. So what we have to know is what size tool are we using. I'm going to use a 1/4 inch ball nose to make this toolpath. So how we are going to create this is I'm going to create another vector. I'm going to select it. I'm going to come over here to offset again, and we're going to offset inwards. And because we're going to use a 1/4 inch, we're going to use a 1/8 inch offset. There we go. And what that's going to do is that's going to go down and do half the width of the tool and give us a nice bevel at the bottom of the pocket or the clearance path that we're making. What we just created is our clearance path. We'll create the clearance, then we'll create the bevel, and then we'll cut this piece out. So let's get rid of this. Okay, let's go ahead and create the toolpaths. First thing we're going to do is the clearance toolpath for the bottom of the bowl, or bottom of the dish, I should say. Let's get rid of the offset window. Go to toolpaths, go down here to clearance, select it, and we're going to do selected vectors. Our start depth is the top of our wood, which is 0 inches. Our finish depth is going to be 3/4 of an inch. And we're going to use a flat 1/4 inch end mill. Now, our speeds and feeds for our step over, let's see, I want to do 0.9. And the reason for that is because I want to try to create as little tool marks as possible. This cherry is going to be a bear to try to sand in the bottom of this dish. So any help I can get there is much appreciated. So we're going to change our step over to 0.09. It's usually about a little less than half the tool. We're using a 1/4 inch tool, So obviously 0.125 is an eighth of an inch, and this should work. We're going to sacrifice a little time. It'll take a little longer, but we're still, I think we'll have a better carve, and I'm going to use a good sharp bit. So now my step down, I want to change to 0.08. I want to do 80 inches a minute. I want to change my plunge rate to 20. I just want to slow it down. Cherry's a little hard and it has a tendency to burn, so I don't want to cause any more issues than I need. So that is it for that. Now, material thickness I've already selected. It's at 1 inch. Now we're going to call this clear, because that's our clearance toolpath, and we're going to calculate it. And you can see it calculated our toolpath. Now we can close this and select our radius toolpath, or the vector that's going to be our radius toolpath, I should say. So now we want to go back to toolpaths, select the profile toolpath. We want to do inside, because we want to create a radius at the bottom at that 3/4 of an inch from this clearance to the wall. We want that to be a nice 1/4 inch radius so that it's easy to clean, that kind of thing. So we're going to make a final depth, make sure it's the same as your clearance path for your base, and we're going to select a 1/4 inch ball nose. Now we're going to change our feeds and speeds on that. We don't have to worry about a step over because we're only making one pass down and that's it, because we're following along the inside of the vector. And we are going to change this to 0.08, and we're going to change this to 80. And our final pass, I think I'm going to want to do 80 as well. And we're going to change this tool path, or tool number, to 2. And let's see, okay, it's 1 inch. So now this is going to be called radius. And we're going to calculate that. Okay, so that is done. Now, one last thing. We got to create the cutout, or the outline path. So remember, select the vector, go over here, shift tool, select the other vector, and we want to close that, click on toolpaths. We want to do another profile. So this time outside is the correct path to take. 1 inch is the depth. We want to use a 1/4 inch end mill. We're going to select that. That is, speeds and feeds need to be changed on that. So we're going to do we're going to do the same as we did for the clearance. This is going to be 09, which it doesn't really matter because it's only going to go down one time. So we're going to change this to 08. This is going to be 80. And this is going to be 80. And our plunge rate's going to be 20. And that is it. Now we want to add bridges to this. And I'm thinking 4 of them would be great. Length, 1/4 inch. Thickness, I'm thinking our thickness be 0.05. I think that's plenty. And we'll add them, and they're already there, obviously. Now we're going to call this outline, and we're going to calculate. And there we go. We are done producing or making the toolpath, so we can close that. Now the most important thing we need to do is save them. So let's go up to clear. I'm going to save clear first. And if you notice that if I select radius and I go save, radius is over here in the save area, and the calculated paths are shown to the left. Those are the ones that are over here that aren't selected. So if you have a preference in what you want to create first, then select the one you want to create first. Generally, when I create a toolpath, I like to create the first toolpath as the first one I'm going to carve. It's just a rule of thumb for me. Makes it easier. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to just hit save. In this case, we only need to do it one time. This is our, we're going to go here. It's going to be our clearance path. I'm going to select OK. Obviously, I've already done this. You know that. So I'm just showing you how I did it. I'm going to save. It's going to say, do you want to overwrite? I'm going to say no, because I don't want to overwrite that. This doesn't need to be. So now that's done. We're going to go over here and we're going to do the radius next. So both the radius toolpaths, and we're going to come over here and we're going to do the inside path. I'm calling it the inside because it's the inside of our clearance path, basically. So I want to save that. I don't want to overwrite it. I've already done it. So that's done. Our last one is our outline. And I think you get where we're going here. We're going to go back here. We're going to do outside. And we're going to save. Don't want to overwrite it. If you want to overwrite it, if you have the same scenario and you want to overwrite it, you're going to lose what you got there. I don't want to lose that, so I'm going to click no. But I just wanted to show you this so that you knew how to go ahead and save your toolpaths. So at this point, you can hit cancel, and we can go over to GSender and load those G codes and carve these trays. So let's get to it. Before we get started with today's project, I want to say thank you to this week's sponsor, Siencilabs, the makers of the Longmill benchtop CNC, just like the one we have here in our shop. If you're in the market for a CNC machine and you're not really sure what to get, go to their website, Sienci.com, and check out this awesome machine. You'll be really happy you did. Now let's get back to our video. What I've done is I flattened a piece of cherry. I had a piece left over from the giveaway project. I've attached some painter's tape to the wasteboard and to the back of the board, and used some CA glue, some hardener or spray activator, and attached it to the Longmill, and as you can see, it's on there pretty good. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to fire up GSender, bring it forward, put a bit in it, and I think what we're going to do is the clearance path first, and then we'll go ahead and do the second path, which is going to be the roundover in the bottom of the clearance, and then we'll cut them out and we'll be done. Bring the mill down, put a bit in, and we will go from there. It's a down cut. Now it's important that you get it in there far enough so that that collar gets a hold of it. You don't want to have it dangling out of there just to get extra length. Never want to do that. A couple other things I want to share with you here is always use your wrenches to tighten and untighten. You can use this little button on the back side of your router just to finger tight so it doesn't fall out. But always use your wrenches because you will break that little tab off quicker than anything. And I like to do it like this. Make sure they're good and tight. It's not going to hurt it to make them nice and tight. And that's about it for installing a bit. Okay, now that we got the bit installed, we use the touch probe and put it back in its handy dandy little holder there, and we start the job. Now I fast forwarded this a lot, but we'll get to a point where we're going to need to change the tool again, and we're coming up on that right now. We're going to put a bevel tool in there, a 1/4 inch ball nose. We always need to do the touch plate when we put a new bit in. And what that ball nose is going to do is run around the outside of our clearance, giving us a very smooth radius at the bottom of the clearance. Something that will save you a lot of sanding. So, and then from there we'll go back, change the bit again, back to an end mill, and we'll cut these projects out of this piece of cherry. All right, I went through a tool change. We cut the bowl. I used a ball nose to make that one pass, and I showed you how I did that tool path. That was real easy to do in Carveco. It was really simple, and it did a really nice job, and it went back for that finish pass for me and really cleaned it up nice. Now, after that, you saw me change the bit again, and I did a re-zero on the Z, because whenever you change a bit, you gotta do your Z. And what we're doing is going around and around trying to cut this bowl out. You probably know what I did. I got an alarm. Usually an alarm means you did something wrong. Here's what I did. I put the bit in there too far, I guess, and I reached my Z extents, so it stopped. It can't go any further. So what I'm going to do is I've shut the router off and I've cranked it up to get it out of the workpiece, because I don't know what's going to happen. This is something new for me. What I'm going to do is I've tried to click on unlock the machine, but it won't unlock. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to attempt to stop the job. Okay, it's going to let me stop the job. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to unlock the machine again, and it's not going to do that. So maybe it'll let me hit home, and it will not. So what I'm going to have to do is the same thing I did in my other video. I'm going to have to disconnect the machine, then I'm going to have to reconnect the machine, and then it's going to do a home. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this back up so it's back here at the X and Y. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and raise it up a little bit so I can get in there, and I'm going to loosen this bit, and I'm going to lower this bit because I did put it in quite a ways. It just was too high up and it wouldn't allow me to go deep enough, and that's why it gave me the error. So we're going to try this again. It's never an emergency. We're just, just take a break, figure it out. Think about the things that are happening, and you can generally figure it out. There's not a whole lot of operations that can go wrong. I mean, G-Sender is pretty good program, so it gave us that error, and we figured it out. Now what we need to do is I need to reset my Z, and we're going to do that with a touch probe. And we'll get my touch probe under it, and we'll reset the Z. Get connectivity is good, and come up here and start the probe. And what it'll do is it should go down and back up set the Z. Now we can pull that out, put it back in our cool little holder here. There is no need to redo the X and Y because we're just cutting this out. So let's start it and see what happens. I had mentioned that you don't have to re-zero the X and Y. I will show that to you in a future video. It's actually a pretty cool feature of G-Sender, and I can't wait to share it with you. That's why I like the tape. I mean, look it comes right off the project. I mean, if you don't put a ton where it bleeds through, it comes right off. Now look, it peels right off. It holds that thing down perfectly. All right, we have 2 trays out of that piece of scrap cherry wood. And now what we're going to do is we're going to use my handheld router, and I'm going to round them off, and then we're going to do a fine sanding on it. We'll get these finished up, and we'll come back and show you how they came out. Well, that about does it for this one, folks. I think they came out great. For the first time that I ever made a tray or a plate of any sort, and I think they came out pretty good. I took an old piece of cherry, a piece that would probably end up in the fire because it was so small, and made a couple useful things. And that's why it's so hard for me to throw anything away, is because you just never know what the next project's going to be or what you could make. Funny thing is that it came from a piece of cherry that was left over from the giveaway project. Please go there and enter to win that giveaway. I'm giving away what I call a butler package, a cutting board, a charcuterie board, and a set of 4 coasters, all made out of cherry, scrap cherry, just bent and twisted and, you know, just all misshapen. And I turned it into 3 great projects, and Siencilabs is going to give away a great bit package with that. So please go there and enter to win. I'll announce the winner when we get to 1,000 subscribers. It'll help the channel grow, and someone's going to get a great project and a great gift. If you liked what you saw today and you want to see more, go ahead and subscribe to our channel. Make sure you ring the notification bell. YouTube will let you know when I post again. So, with all that being said, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all your support. Take care, everyone, and be safe out there.